So thank you for this invitation. When we started the NIDCAP implementation 20 years ago, we were in the darkness, even with the support of our trainer, Joy Brown. And at this time, there was one light that was switching on in the deep north, in Falun, in Lund, in Stockholm. And this collaboration with the Swedish team was very helpful for us, and that explains the success of the implementation in our unit. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you put the debate on the evidence-based strategies, and that helps us also to understand how we can communicate about NIDCAP. So I have to disclose that I am the medical director of the breast NIDCAP training, and that may be, that surely can change my way of thinking and my way of speaking. But the training center is a non-for-profit organization affiliated to the Breast University. Why do we need to protect sleep in the hospitalized newborn? Maybe we have no indication of negative impact of sleep deprivation on development, on human interaction. Maybe the only reason is comfort. I don't want to be awakened by the noise in the hotel. So maybe it's only a question of comfort. So even if we fail to demonstrate any impact on development, we need to protect the sleep of the preterm babies. And we know that maybe that has long-term impact because we have some paper showing that the sleep organization, the sleeping habits could be different in former preterm babies when they are older. And with some colleagues from different countries in Europe, from Denmark, Spain, Sweden, we tried to understand what could be the basis of early patient and family-centered care for newborns based on the evidence. And we can show that the 3 hours entrance of the parents, the psychological parental support, the pain management of the baby, changing the environment, sound, light, the support of the positioning, the support of skin to skin, lactation and breastfeeding support are very, very supported by evidence-based. But for sleep protection, we have not evidence about the negative impact, but we have animal studies. And in my mind, that is enough. We will not be able in the future to demonstrate the negative impact of the lack of sleep because for ethical reasons. So we need to say sleep protection is a goal. So we need to have intervention, but we need to be efficient. We need to have evidence-based early intervention. So my topic will be focused on different strategies, and I will try to show you evidence either from systematic review, either from consensus, national consensus. We have some environmental intervention. Pierre has the topic of Pierre was about environment. I would like to focus on behavioral strategies, and I will say some words about more complex developmental care programs. The first strategy could be swaddling. There is a meta-analysis published in 2007 showing that swaddling infants help them to sleep longer. And that is demonstrated by a descriptive study or laboratory studies. And the effect of swaddling seems to be more consistent in period of quiet sleep than in period of REM sleep. But the limit of this systematic review is that it's not focused on newborn. It's not focused on hospitalized newborn. It's focused on infant in general. So we have no idea about the real impact of swaddling in sick, extreme preterm babies. The second strategy could be non-nutritive sucking. Non-nutritive sucking is the use of sucking in period outside the feeding periods. And there is also a systematic review published by the Cochrane Group about the impact of this strategy. And for the sleep protection, they said that there is only 4 studies reported behavioral states, but these 4 studies never used the same way to report the states. And that is limitation in most of the studies because the sleep evaluation is not based on the gold standard techniques. One study showed that there was most frequent transition from quiet sleep to drowsy for the sucking group. 2 studies never demonstrate any effect. And one study was able to show that the sleep states were more frequent in the sucking group. So the author of this meta-analysis didn't keep this strategy as protective for the sleep, even if non-nutritive sucking has positive impact for other aspects. Skin to skin. We have a high amount of data showing the positive impact of skin to skin on kangaroo mother care on sleep. And I just want to show you 2 national recommendations, one from the US and the other from Canada. Hopefully, they agree, hopefully. This recommendation, this consensus, show that skin to skin increase the frontal brain activity during quiet and active sleep, and that is an indicator of the maturation of the brain. Skin to skin offer more mature sleep organization with increased total and quiet sleep periods and decreased REM sleep time. And at term, when the preterm babies are reaching the term, they show a longer period of quiet sleep and a more organized sleep-wake cyclicity. The baby seems to be less irritable and fussy. So we need to use skin to skin, as has been shown this morning. If the baby is not on skin to skin, if the baby is in incubator, we can put the baby on the prone position because a baby in a prone position versus supine position have more quiet sleep and fewer awakenings. This is a consensus from the French group, the French special group from the French Neonatal Society. And this fact has been graded as grade B. We have less clear data about the impact of side-lying position. And we have also some positive impact of a postural support cocoon on total sleep time and quiet sleep time, and that is graded as C. And you can read also some different research, either on mattress, hammock, clothing. That could be interesting, but remember that that is not kangaroo mother care. So that maybe is not the priority for research. The priority for the care is to increase the time spent on skin to skin. So working on ersatz, that means techniques that are not focused on the skin to skin, maybe we are wasting time and money for that. Music. There is a recent systematic review, and they said that live music intervention were shown to improve sleep in 3 out of 4 studies. But as for swaddling or as for sucking, the behavioral states were measured with 4 different non-validated instruments. And that is a real difficulty in all the study, because to compare the study, you need to have the same way to compare, to analyze the outcome. And that was not possible in this systematic review. And they said that there is heterogeneity for the type and the duration of intervention, the gestational age, and the outcome. So it's very difficult to have a recommendation on music. Massage. Is massage environment and is a direct strategy? A recent systematic review with some critics about these articles. Few studies use different intervention related to timing and the number of messages. So it's very difficult to compare all these studies. The outcome also vary among studies. So the author of this review said, we have no enough evidence to support the use of massage for term and preterm infants. But massage may be considered on a case-by-case basis. And that the reason why we implement NIDCAP 20 years ago was because our nurses wanted to change the care of the baby. They wanted to be more human, to have a more human approach. And they asked me to try the massage. And I was a bit reluctant for that, and I offered to the nurses to have a review of the papers. And reviewing the paper at the university, at this time we have no internet, so we were obliged to go to the library and to write all the paper. And I found the paper from Debbie Buller. And I remember the day I went out of the library with the paper. I remember that because I met a colleague, and I say, that is what we need to do. And 20 years after that, we are still not doing massage in the. So the circle is closed. So thanks for the message, because I could discover your paper. I think it was your PhD work. So I have shown some systematic review about some specific intervention. But we have also 2 systematic review on general analysis of strategy to improve the sleep. One is from the Utrecht group, and another one is from a Chinese group. This Chinese group has published in the past a systematic review in the Cochrane group for adult intensive care units. So these 2 systematic reviews, we can imagine that they have the same conclusion. It's more complex, far more complex, because they are not designed on the same way. They have not the same databases to explore. They don't use the same languages. For the review from the group in the Netherlands, they use English, French, Spanish, Dutch, and the Chinese had the Chinese publication. They search for randomized controlled trial or quasi-experimental trials. And the number of trials that have been included is very different between the 2 reviews. Only 14 in the first one and 36 in the second one. They agree on the heterogeneity of the published papers with sleep measurement that has been done in different way, either behavioral sleep scales or polysomnography or AEG, and different gestational age, different medical condition. That also it's very important, because you can find a paper saying that this intervention is efficient for preterm babies. But usually the preterm babies that have been included in the study are stable babies. So you have no indication about how we can use this intervention for non-stable baby. Maybe for non-stable babies, the only strategy could be skin to skin, maybe. So the risk of bias in all the published papers that have been included in these two systematic review, the risk of bias is high. Usually with the randomization that is not clear, a small number of patients on large confidence intervals. I have forgotten to say that in the Chinese systematic review, they perform a meta-analysis, and your group say, no, we can't, because there is a large heterogeneity, so we cannot mix potatoes and other things. And you don't write that, but you say we cannot do some meta-analysis on that. So what the conclusion of this Chinese systematic review, the co-bedding, that means to put two babies in the same incubator, has no effect on sleep. Some mattress intervention could have an effect on the total sleep time. The cycle light could have some effect on total sleep time. And the knit cap have no effect. We will discuss more about knit cap after that. Total sleep time. And the systematic review from Utrecht, the kangaroo mother care has a positive impact, only 2 studies. The Jackson touch and the gentle human touch, positive impact, 2 trials. The cycle light has no effect in 2 studies, positive effect on 1 trial. On the massage, on the knit cap, had no effect. So I have worked for nothing during 20 years, because we start with saying, massage, massage, we end by knit cap, and you say no effect on sleep. Science is very difficult. So we can have a look on some program, early intervention program. We know that there are different programs across the world. The knit cap, the we care, the family integrative care, the FI care. Close collaboration with parents is from Finland. And the family nurture intervention is from New York. I have found data only for knit cap and for family nurture intervention on sleep. For the knit cap, we have 2 randomized controlled trials focusing on the impact on sleep. The first is from Karolinska, Bjorn Westrup and colleagues, and the second is from California. And both are randomized controlled trials, but they are not designed to explore sleep. They have been designed to explore the impact on development. And I can remember that both studies showed a positive impact. The Californian trial show a positive impact on development as yours in Karolinska. And the outcome was quiet sleep, a percentage of quiet sleep for the Swedish study, and different outcome for the other trial. You know that it's not so good to have different outcomes, because by chance, if you have 10 outcomes different outcome, by chance you could have one that is positive. So it's better to have only one outcome. And the sleep measurement was done by the AEG at 32 and 30 weeks post-conceptional age in the Swedish trial. And in the American trial, they use automatic system that was able to analyze movement. So it's not a gold standard measurement of sleep. And that was done at 36 weeks just as post-conceptional age, and at 3 months corrected age. No impact in the two studies. And the quality of both studies was analyzed by the Utrecht group, and they put a note of 5/7 for the Westrup trial and 0/7 for the Californian trial. I think the highest, the better is. No? I think? Okay. Yes, but this is not the primary outcome. When you are designing a study, you need to calculate the number of patients to demonstrate an effect. And if you use your data to analyze another effect, maybe the number of patients is not enough. And that is a type 2 error. That means even if there is no impact, maybe there is one impact. There is no demonstrated impact, but maybe there is an impact. So that explains why we need to have studies focusing on sleep with sleep pattern as a primary outcome. And we conducted a trial some years ago. That was at the beginning of the implementation of NIDCAP in the unit. And our nurses say, oh, since the beginning of the implementation, the preterm babies are less stressed, they have better oxygenation, and they are sleeping more. That could be magic thinking, because I was pushy to explain to the nurse that NIDCAP is good, NIDCAP is good, NIDCAP is good. So we need to demonstrate something. So we use we designed a trial to compare what we learned at the beginning with NIDCAP. That is a baby in a flex position, protect from light on the sound, with some support to go to the sleep, compared to the way we take care of the baby at this time. And we show a difference, significant difference in the total sleep time, the active sleep and the quiet sleep, and the latency of sleep. That means the time between the end of the care and the starting of the first sleep. But this study has 3 major limitations. First one is not a randomized control study. It's a crossover randomized study. That means each baby is on control, and we only randomize the first seconds of intervention. Second, in the intervention group, now in the intervention period, we use some techniques, but that is not NIDCAP, because the 2 main components of NIDCAP were lacking. Participation of parents and observation for individualization of the care. We were obliged to have a protocol. So that is not NIDCAP, that is what we call developmental care. And then the control condition. Control condition was the baby was on the back with light, sound. And that was the way we take care of the baby before the NIDCAP. And it's not the way that the care are performed now in the most units, even in non-NIDCAP units. So it's very difficult to use this result now. For the family nurture intervention, this is an early intervention program designed by Martha Welch in America. It's based on the participation of the mother, on the support of the mother. The mother is invited to participate to calming session, to exchange with the baby some scent cloth, and to have some contacts with the baby through touching, language, and eye contact. And in this randomized control study, it was not also the main outcome. They use a randomized control study to analyze the sleep. And they use a very complex way of analyzing the sleep. I'm not a specialist, and I have some trouble to understand what the meaning of this way to analyze the sleep. They say that the outcomes they were measured quantify the degree to which holistic information in a network of interacting elements predict a future network state given in an earlier state separated in time by a lag. If you can understand that, please explain me what's that mean. I'm not a specialist in that. But they use this way to measure the sleep, and they demonstrate a positive impact of the family nurture intervention. So we have no other idea about the impact of early intervention program on sleep. I would like to discuss about 3 issues that seems to be important. The first one is are there some conflicts between developmental support for sleep protection and safe sleep recommendation? There is some paper discussing about how we can combine the safe sleep recommendation and the support of the baby. And our group in France were asked to reflect on what is the positioning, what could be the recommendation for positioning at discharge. And we said that the postural support offered during the hospital stay must not alter the clarity of the information for preventing the unexpected death of the infant delivered before discharge. We need to anticipate the cessation of the monitoring by applying the safe sleep practice a few days before. That means the baby in the back with no support. And sometimes some baby have some troubles to accept this new condition. Yes, you could say skin to skin, but mostly the baby are in the bed at this time. So some people from the group say, but we can use some mattress specific techniques at home. But the group said that the need to continue the postural support at home for some children with persistent signs of immaturity of movement control with motor instability is not based on the consensus. We cannot support what is sometimes used in France, that is some specific techniques at home. We were obliged to say the strict recommendation is the baby on the back with thick mattress and no other techniques. The second issue is, okay, we need to protect the sleep, but what about the awakening periods? And in mammals, these awakening periods are used for social interaction and for feeding, breastfeeding. So we need to understand how we can support the period when the baby is awakened. And it seems that kangaroo mother care could be the best way. The baby is sleeping on the tummy of the mother, and the baby has a very short period of quiet awakening. And then the baby is looking around, the mother is singing to the baby is moving to the breast, and then he falls asleep. If the baby is in the incubator, it's not possible to use so a short time to have interaction. And The other issue I would like to discuss is what about the sleep of the parents? We know that in healthy adult, sleep deprivation has some impact on, could decrease the cognitive performance very quickly. And sleep deprivation could change the mood of the adult. And if we imagine a parent in the unit with a decreased cognitive performance and a change in the mood, how can we interact with the parents? That explains why the parents sometimes don't want to speak with us, or want to cry, or want to leave. And how we can integrate the parents in the decision-making process if they have a decrease in cognitive performance. So the sleep of the parents the sleep is a very important topic to consider. And I would like to share two different studies. One is from Sweden, and the other one is from America. The one from Sweden is based on the qualitative design, research design, integrating 12 parents. And in this trial, the parents slept in the hospital, in the unit, in a parent room, close to the NICU. And this study show sleep deprivation. And this sleep can be modified by anxiety and uncertainty. That means if parents cannot understand what is happening to the baby, that could modify the sleep. In turn, skin to skin, and being together, being the mother, the father, being with the siblings, being with the grandfather and the grandmother, could help the parents to have a good sleep. And sometimes in France, when the parents want to stay in the unit, sometimes some physicians, some nurses say, oh, it's better for you to go home. You could have a good sleep. If you consider the American study based on 55 first-time mothers, all of these mothers slept at home. And they use sleep diary, a battery of questionnaires, and actigraphy, and they demonstrate that these parents have a poor sleep. A parent of preterm baby, even if they are going home, they have a bad sleep. So the lack of sleep in parents is really a question that we need to consider, and we need to work on that. And it's very important because in this integrative review about the sleep experience of mother of hospitalized preterm infants, they said that mothers are stressed, depressed, fatigued, and they are at risk for poor overall physical and mental health. Remember that a number of parents, 1 or 2 years after the birth, they can demonstrate some sign of post-traumatic disorder. So we need to understand how the lack of sleep could influence the mental health of the mother and the father. And what they say in this paper is that although the provision of maternal milk to preterm infants should remain a priority, it's essential that maternal well-being is concurrently addressed and optimized. That means we are pushy for the mother to say it's better to have milk, you need to pump, and you need to pump during the night. And we say also, you need to come, you need to be with your baby. And if you have not enough milk, you need to sleep. How the mother can be there, sleep, and pumping? The only way is couplet care. The only way is to have a bed for the mother. And the mother could be in the unit. Even if the mother is able to stay 3 hours in the unit, she could sleep in the unit. And she could pump during a skin-to-skin. So we need to imagine how we can support the sleep of the mother and how we can support the breastfeeding. So medicine is complex. So I would like to conclude by some recommendation. We have seen that we have no extensive scientific knowledge on sleep. So we need to use what we call precautionary principle. This principle is used at the European Union for all questions about environment. That means when you have not so much research, but there is a risk, we can use a principle of precaution. That means we need to protect the sleep even if we have no indication of poor outcome. So we need to control the light and the sound. You need to organize the care of the baby according to the states of the baby. And kangaroo mother care is one of the best efficient, one of the most efficient strategy and the most demonstrated strategy. And we need to go on with research, but we need to design trials with some sleep patterns as primary outcome, with validated measurement instruments. The gold standard is polysomnography, and how we can organize a trial with polysomnography. Can we design other instruments? We need to have a power calculation that is able to demonstrate or non-demonstrate the efficiency. And we need also to have long-term impact data on development, on sleep organization. Thank you for your attention.